I like to say Prince George is really still a very small town, even though we're constantly growing. The people here are willing to give you the shirt off their back and really bend over backwards to help you achieve your dream.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Commerce, Coffee, and Community Podcast. My name is Brandon Greenall. I'm your host, and today I'm joined by Kate Ames of Baller Food. How's it going today, Kate?
Good. It's going great. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for asking. Why don't you start us off today with just telling us a bit about your background, Kate, where you grew up, and what made you decide to start a business here in Prince George?
Well, I grew up in Terrace, and I moved to Vancouver after I had graduated high school. At the time, I was managing a Subway, and I just wanted to take my life in a different direction, get an education. So I went down to art school at Emily Carr and BCIT, and then once that was over, I couldn't afford to live there anymore. And I actually had a good friend of mine that was going to school up at UNBC come down and visit, and she took me on this whirlwind Vegas girls trip. And we talked about me moving up to Prince George. And when we got back from Vegas, I packed up all my stuff and left the next day.
Wow, that's probably the most interesting story I've ever heard of someone coming to Prince George.
Yeah, basically just dead broke and massive amounts of credit card debt and student loans. And
Definitely.
Needed to make a change.
Affordable place to live, right? At the time, I guess it was more affordable.
At the time, yeah.
Absolutely. So that's a really interesting journey of how you came to Prince George. Now, what made you decide to set up shop, like to start a business and go into something on your own?
Well, initially, I had started a graphic design freelancing business called Ames Design Studio, and that went like legitimate, license insured, and everything like that. January of 2020.
Bad timing.
Bad timing. And then by March of 2020, my kids were both at home because daycares were closed. And I just could not sit at a laptop with two kids at home. And we just started to watch lots of YouTube and do science experiments and cook a lot at home. And that just kind of spurred me onto wanting to do a little bit different, make a change, and having a food truck is my only other dream in life. So I thought, why not give it a go? And then I had started purchasing things and, started building my concept and my business plan and stuff like that when my spouse died. And that was November of 2021. Once he died, I got a job at Birch & Boar because I needed, to pay all the bills right away. And when I was hired at Birch & Boar, I met Will. I've always been a fan of his since he was, just selling sausage and mustard at the farmer's market, and told him a little bit about my dream. And he has done pretty much everything in the food world, including, the food truck scene down in Portland. And so he right off the bat was like, I will help you do this. And then when spring rolled around, he was like, okay, I'm going to cut your hours and you're going to do this. So he kicked my butt right into making it happen.
Yeah. So it's been an incredibly adverse couple of years for you, going through the hardships of your business and losing your spouse and just overcoming so much to come out with a very unique and really, really motivational story and business. As you've told us a little bit about the motivations behind that, what would you say the mission behind Baller Food is?
My mission with Baller Food is really just to bring delicious food to Prince George. Thank you for the mission. I kind of saw that there was a bit of a hole in the market as far as Italian food here, and I also have a lot of other friends that work in different types of food trucks. At the time, Wayne Kitchen was doing his spud truck, and my friend Michelle Frechette is already doing tacos with her veg head killer food. So I didn't want to step on any toes, and I just kind of, started to brew up what would be affordable food that I could sell for, a decent profit margin. Yeah. So ground meat is the cheapest way to go. Noodles, fairly affordable. And that's kind of where I started. And Baller Food was kind of conceptually, and the meaning behind the name has a kind of three-pronged meanings. So one of them is that I pulled my pension from Northern Health to start Baller Food. It was a little bit scary because that was my only savings at the time. It took quite a while to pull that as well. The other thing is my food all comes in the shape of balls. And then the third is when I was younger, me and my friends used to love that song, I Wish by Skilo. So I wish I were a baller. And I feel like I'm on my way there. Maybe one day.
After this time, you are a baller.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, thank you for filling the whole of Italian food in this town. And my girlfriend thanks you doubly. What would you say is your favorite place to grab a bite here?
My favorite place has got to be a tiebreaker between Birch and Boar. I am biased because I am the chef there as well. But I hear people all the time say that they've never heard of Birch and Boar, never been down to Birch and Boar. And it just blows my mind because I've been a fan since Will was at the farmer's market.
Yeah.
I think they're coming up on 6 years in Prince George. And the food there is just amazing. Yeah. It's mostly local, if not like imported from, France and Italy and stuff like that. So you can get a lot of specialty items there. Also, our hot lunch is very busy. Like every week, it's a little bit crazier. And follow Birch on social media if you want to know what the specials are each week. And then the other one would be the Makery.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. I love Kim and her family there. I do all of my meetings there most of the time. And they have so many like really creative coffee drinks and sweet treats and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. And it's just like a really funky place to go and craft and cafe.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, I got to end this meet our guest portion of the show by asking you the hypothetical question. Your connections are limitless. You have access to one celebrity chef that you get to spend the entire day with. It can be anywhere in the world. Who would you pick?
Bobby Flay, without a doubt.
Flay, the man.
Yeah. I have been a fan of his since Iron Chef.
Absolutely.
I am a Food Network addict.
Oh, man. That was my childhood.
Yeah. He's just seems like such an amazing person outside of being a chef as well. He's my one celebrity chef dreamboat.
Well, why don't you take us back to the very start of your entrepreneurial journey, and what were kind of the first things you did starting up Baller Food?
First kind of things I did was, starting with business plan. I used to be very connected with Community Futures and the Leap for Women in Business program.
Excellent programs for any female entrepreneurs out there to check out.
Yeah, definitely. So I started with kind of the basics, concept and business planning.
Essential, right? To work out sort of all of the really core planning documents and make sure you get a healthy start to your business, hey?
Yeah, good concept, good branding, and knowing where your markets are. Really important.
Definitely. Now, mentorship. I know you mentioned Will a little bit earlier, and Will kind of helped you get into Baller Food. How has mentorship kind of played a role in developing you as an entrepreneur at the start of Baller Food?
Will has been my biggest cheerleader. He's also been my biggest support. I can call, text him anytime. Also, my connections that I made with Leap for Women in Business. And I've also been connected recently. I just did a session with WeBC, Women Entrepreneurs BC, in their food and beverage specialized group. So I just encourage anyone that's wanting to start a business to find those kind of like a specialized mentor in your industry that's going to help you and has really been through it all.
Right. Do you have any tips for people to sort of work to identify those mentors? I know you getting to know Will was a really lucky experience. But did you do any like seeking out of that relationship, or was it very sort of on the spot? It just so happened to happen.
I had always been a fan of Will and Birch and Boar, but I did the summer before I worked for Birch and Boar. I applied for a job with Smokey J's smoked meats truck.
Right.
And I kind of looked for a little bit of mentorship there. It was kind of a little bit more arm's length. And then at the end of the season, I was wanting to partner and buy in and all this kind of stuff. And at the time, he wasn't interested. And he's since closed up shop and moved on to other projects. So it was really just perfect timing, I would say. So once that had ended for the season, it was probably October. And then by November, I was getting a little bit desperate to get back to work. And it was just a Facebook employment post. And I clicked on it and I went in and they hired me on the spot, so.
Yeah, I think it surprises a lot of people when they hear stories like this about people just in the community willing to take on that mentorship. And mentorship does exist in those types of situations. So definitely if someone sees you as someone who's super motivated, who has an idea and they want to explore it, they're so willing most of the time to take a chance and provide you as much advice as they can.
Yeah, I mean, I like to say Prince George is really still a very small town, even though we're constantly growing. The people here are willing to, give you the shirt off their back, and really bend over backwards to help you achieve your dreams.
Absolutely. No, it's so wonderful. I've had mentors here in town, and even throughout my university experience, it's just been phenomenal seeing the types of tight-knit relationships that exist in this community.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, of course, entrepreneurship has, the good moments, the bad moments. Let's talk about the bad moments first. Get those out of the way. What would you say has been the toughest part of Baller Food as an experience so far?
Yeah, so I had a couple times last year where I was not prepared for how busy events were going to be.
Suffering from success. That's nice.
Yeah, I mean, I generally prep enough. I always bring more than I'm going to need.
Yeah.
But hiring staff. So I had a couple, like young staff.
Yeah.
So there was the night market that they did at the CN Center, the really, really busy one that they used to, the ladies from Simply Beautiful, I think, used to run up at in the Heart.
Oh, okay.
So that was crazy. It was, I don't know, like 42 degrees outside. Oof. And my one staff person that I had hired to help me lasted 20 minutes into setup and then had heat stroke and left. And man. I had to push through. It was insane. I could feel that like heat stroke runner's high the entire time of service. Ooh. And the lineup was crazy and you can't stop when you have so much on the line. So I just pushed through. People were amazing, very patient, and were big tippers because they could see how much I was suffering in the heat. But yeah, that was probably like one of the best nights, like highest earning nights, but also like the most strenuous to make it through.
Yeah, no kidding. How about some of the good that's come out? What's been like the most rewarding experience so far?
Yeah, so I would say last year I was just kind of dipping my toe in all sorts of different markets. So I did a small backyard wedding, which was, a little bit scary because it's a wedding. You want it, no hitches. That was really fun. I feel like the biggest challenge of that one was it was one of those houses down in the Alphabet Streets. And it had a long driveway and I had to back up a trailer in a tight space. And I'm not great at backing up with a trailer.
Fair.
Also, I did a remote site for Enbridge in the woods. And that one was really cool, really big payday, and also like stressful because I'm one person feeding 100 people on lunch break. Yeah. So like you got to move fast. Yeah. But that was really fun. And then Robson Valley Music Festival I did last year. Okay. And it was kind of a working holiday because I didn't bring my kids.
Yep.
And I, worked from like lunch to dinner, and then I got to close it up and enjoy the festival. So that was really, really fun.
Very cool. It's really neat to hear that you've been able to explore through, I guess like catering through like so many different situations. Mm-hmm. And, it's more than just having the food truck here in town, but also just being able to go out and really explore and service some unique clients. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, we talked a little bit before about you as a parent, and how many kids do you have again?
I have 2 of my own.
2 of your own.
And then I started seeing someone in November of last year, and he's got 3.
3 kids.
So
Yeah.
together we have 5 that are ages 5, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Absolutely. Wow.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, there's so many parents that they get to parenthood and thinking about entrepreneurship becomes a lot more scary when you have, I say stakeholders in business terms, but
Mm-hmm.
having kids and a family, it makes it really challenging. It adds a layer of fear into getting into business. What is a major piece of advice that you would have for parents who might feel like entrepreneurship is something that they're going to have to wait a long time to do?
I would just say make sure you have a really solid support system, and a really vast babysitting pool.
Yeah.
um, I'm lucky that I have lots of mom friends who not only have young children but have teenagers as well. So anytime anyone's posting, "Oh, my child's wanting to babysit or just got their course," I'm like, "Yes, me. Let's do an interview. Let's start." Like even if it's just once in a while. Yeah, just having like a large pool of people that will babysit for you.
Yeah, definitely. That would make things a little less scary.
Yeah.
um, Now you talked a bit about your first entrepreneurial experience of setting up your design company from home, and that was a really unfortunate experience. I'm so sorry that happened to you because COVID sucked. COVID, it still sucks.
Yeah, it
And
definitely did.
it derailed so many people. And I have to ask, were there any positive learning lessons that came out of that experience that kind of helped you have an easier time with Baller Food?
I would just say going through the process of starting a business. I think it's bcbiz.ca, and it's very step by step on how to start a business. Getting your business name,
Yeah.
and then insurance, and checking all those boxes. Yeah, that would be the main thing that I learned from starting a small business and then moving into my second one is just going through those steps, because I felt like beforehand and when I was younger, you just don't know what you don't know until you do it, and then it seems so easy, but beforehand it seems very big.
Yeah, absolutely. And those steps can be really intimidating
Hmm.
for first time entrepreneurs. So getting that out of the way, that probably lifted a pretty significant weight off your shoulders.
Yeah, I knew it was all tickety boo after that first go round.
Definitely. Now, as a food truck connoisseur yourself, I have to ask, in terms of the local food truck culture potential, what would you kind of like to see here in Prince George, in terms of either food truck owners maybe coming together or the scene expanding a little bit to offer more options? Is there something you would like to see there?
Yeah, I would definitely like to see a return of Foodie Fridays or some kind of event like
Yeah,
that at the
yeah,
Civic
yeah, yeah.
Plaza. One other thing is I would like to see the city be more lax on downtown parking, because that's a very big hindrance. The 3 hour limit
Yeah,
means that food trucks can't park anywhere
right.
downtown.
Oh,
There
that's a
are a few
bummer.
designated spots, but it's like at the skate park on like down on Massey, Late Tenny Park, and stuff like that.
Right, not
Yeah.
really helpful for office staff and stuff like that during the weeks, eh?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
great for special events. They're on a first come first serve basis, but they're not in the downtown core, which is really where you want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not like food truck owners can do an event. It's not like there's events every week for a food truck owner to go to and kind of prosper, right?
Yeah, I mean, I do okay just because I'm at the farmers market all the time. That's kind of like
Right.
my spot to be consistent. But in the wintertime, I was just lucky enough to get an inside space. So
Yeah.
anyone else um, that is trying to take their truck year round
Like
doesn't have that
I've
opportunity.
tried your food and it's amazing, but I can understand the suits downtown maybe not being okay with waiting in negative 30-degree weather outside.
Yeah, no.
Totally understandable. Now, with that in mind, maybe having the city be a little more accessible for food trucks, where would you like to see Baller Food in 5 years?
In 5 years, I would like to see my food truck actually built. So right now, I have a truck that I purchased from Spotless and a garage full of commercial kitchen equipment. So right now, I operate out of a tent in the summertime with 100% propane setup.
Yep.
And then inside at the farmer's market, I have 100% electric setup. Yeah, and I want to really make it a family business and do festival circuits and camp with my kids and have all of the kids work for me, child labor and all of that. And then also right now I'm vending grocery items like balls and sauce and pesto and glaze out of Birch and Boar, but I would like to take those into all mainstream grocery as well.
Very cool. And have you looked into that process and what that's kind of like? I've always wondered about that.
Yeah, I haven't looked into the mainstream stuff just yet, just because I've just started to vend that kind of stuff out of Birch and Boar, and then like take home frozen product at the market as well. Yeah, I feel like I've only been doing this since June of last year, so everything's very new and just last summer was very crazy, and with my family dynamic now, I'm trying to rein it in a little bit and be a little bit more selective about what I do. One of the other new things that's going to be coming to market is a DoorDash delivery service. It's called DoorDash Storefront. So that'll be out of Birch and Boar, but you'll be able to get grocery product and then hot lunch delivered to your door very soon as well.
Kate, I just wanted to thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. And I'll just ask that you close the show out with one last piece of wisdom for our audience.
All right. My last piece of wisdom is just do it. Don't wait. The risk is worth the reward, so just go for it.